Okay, so in this video, we're going to be working with conditional formatting as a way of ferreting out any of the duplicate records that we might have. In other words, we might be concerned that we have duplicates and we ultimately want to get rid of them, but maybe before getting rid of them, we just want to see where they are, what they are, that type of thing. And then at that point, we can take whatever action we need to get rid of them, or whatever your plans are. But I'm actually doing this example because over the years I've had people, when I'm doing regular classes, they'll say, well, yeah, that's great that we can remove duplicates. We've got the remove duplicate tool in the data tab there, but what if we just want to be able to see those duplicates before we get rid of them? How do we make that happen? And so this is what I came up with. So in this first example, we're going to be using conditional formatting and using this formula right here to have it highlight all of the items that are duplicates. In other words, if there are 3 rows that are exactly the same, kind of scattered, this feature will highlight or color all 3 of them, okay? So if we've got 5 rows that are all duplicates of one another, all 5 will be highlighted, all right? And now we're going to compare that with another formula that will, in the case of, let's say, having 5 duplicates, it'll only highlight the latter 4, right? So it makes it a little bit easier to just know anything that's colored in there, select it, and delete it, right? But I want to show you both ways, and you can kind of make up your minds as to which way you want to do it. So in this example, what I'm going to do ahead of time, because I don't want to have to type this in, because I'm a slow typer, so I'll just kind of select that formula, right-click it, and hit copy, and there we go. And I'll just hit escape to get out of there. Now keep in mind what we're doing here. We're looking at 4 columns or 4 fields that have to match on 2 or more rows in order to be considered a duplicate. Now you'll notice in the formula, and we're using the count if function in this case, we're looking at column A, we've got column B, we've got column C, and we've got column D. So maybe in your case, maybe you only have 3 columns, then you would just do A, B, and C. And you'll notice how the formula starts at A2 and goes all the way down to whatever the bottom is. In this case, it's going to be row 50, all right? But so that would be how that would work. And you would change that part as well. So if you had 1,000 rows, then you'd make that 50 into 1,000 instead, right? And if you had, let's say, column E and column F as well, then you would just, duplicate this part of the formula over and over again, and just change the D's to E's and the D's to F's, right? And then you have it working that way. So pretty easy, concept there. So anyway, so I've got that area, I selected that, so now I don't have to type that in. Now, next thing, and by the way too, I have it here so that I could copy it. All right, everybody? You don't need to have this formula here in order to make this work, okay? So anyway, so I've got that copied. Now the next thing we need to do is select the area that we want this conditional formatting to occur at. So we're going to go from A2 all the way over to D, and then down to, in this case, row 50. And we got that part. Now, next thing, we go into conditional formatting, go down to new rule. We're going to make our own rule here. There's nothing that even comes close in our preset ones that come from Microsoft, so we have to kind of make our own. So we're making a new rule, and this new rule involves a formula, and then down here we put the formula in here. So this is where I do a right click and paste it in, versus if you didn't have that, having to type all that in. So a lot of work. Anyway, so now when it finds the duplicates, we want it to color it in. So we're going to go here to format, and in the fill area you can pick your color that you want to fill it in with. If you want to put a border at the top and bottom, you can go in here and you can pick your border, pick a color. Let's say I want to make it black there, and you can put the border at the top and the bottom of each of them. That's up to you. I mean, it gets a little busy doing that kind of thing. I mean, I think at minimum, which I think is probably the best, We'll just hit none on here. I think the best thing is just to have it, you know, with the color there. But if you want to do the borders, that's fine. You can also, too, in addition to those two, make it bold, change the color of the text if you want to, that type of thing. Kind of limited, but you've got something in there. But what we're going to do is just stick with the green background. So hit OK. That's what it's going to look like. Hit OK again, and voila, there it is. So you can see here, right off the bat, we've got these two duplicates here, right? Obviously. Now, there might be more of them down here, but the point of the matter is that if there were 3 rows that were exactly the same, all 3 rows will be colored in like that. So there you go. So now let's say you wanted to set out to get rid of the duplicates. You know, so if you've got 5 rows that are exactly the same, you want to get rid of the 4, right? You kind of leave the 1 in place. Now, you can do that very easily. Let's say we'll just start with the first one here. Let's say we're going to get rid of that one, right? So I'm going to click onto it like that. Right-click it. Hit delete. Now watch what happens over here. I'm going to hit delete. And now the coloring goes away from that, right? Then I can say, all right, well, maybe I'll go maybe to this one here, the Chang. Now the Chang is also a duplicate, you know, somewhere in here. So I'll just go ahead and do a right click on that one and delete that. See, I'll go to this one here, do a right click on it and delete it, and so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of seeing those things. Now the other major thing that you can, very easy thing to do would be, instead of even going through all that work, just clicking anywhere in the data, right? Going here to the data tab, going over here to this remove duplicates, which is this one right here. So remove duplicates, click onto that. It basically says it's going to look at all 4 of these fields, and if it finds 2 or more rows with the same thing on all 4 fields, it will get rid of everything but the 1, all right, as I was kind of talking about before. So really nothing to do here other than just hit OK, and it says it removed the 15 duplicates. You hit OK, and there we go. And so now you are duplicate free. Not too bad. All right, so now let's look at the same kind of formula almost, but where not all, let's say, 5 rows or records will be highlighted out of the duplicates, but only the latter 4, or whatever it happens to be. In other words, it'll highlight everything but 1 of the duplicates, all right? And just a slightly different look. So we're going to go over to this one here. Now, what I'm going to do is, again, select the formula. Now, you'll notice on this one, the formula is a little bit different. It doesn't really require specifying how far down the data goes. So in this case, it's just, you know, looking at A2 through A2 and comparing it to A2, you know, using some of the absolute symbols there. So you don't have to worry about how many rows you have, like the last one we had there. So go ahead, I'll copy that. And I'll escape out, and I'll go back and reselect the same range, just like that. Okay, and then we'll go back into Home, go back to our conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, and we'll paste that one in there. And on this one, as far as the format goes, we'll go with maybe, I don't know, we'll do blue this time. All right, so we got that. We hit OK. There we go. Now hit OK again, and there we go. So now you can see that this is a duplicate, this is a duplicate. So the only thing that's going to be colored in, like we see here, are duplicates. In other words, anything that's colored in can be deleted. So it makes it a little bit easier just to go and you know, select each of them and go from there. And again, you know, at this point, once you maybe see all of this, you can say, okay, fine. And then what you can do is go back over to Data, go over to the Remove Duplicates over here. All 4 columns, again, will be checked off. All you have to do is just hit OK. It tells you what it's doing. We hit OK. We're done. Okay, so now a third option with all of this is using a macro. Now, let's just backtrack a little bit. What we've done so far requires you having to put a formula in for every worksheet that you have, all right? And it might not be that bad. I mean, you can obviously go to an old worksheet, select the formula, copy it, and jump into your newest creation and apply that formula and, you know, kind of tweak it to fit, you know, the new data. That's fine. But how about if we go about creating a macro? The macro having all the code in it that would do the same thing as what the conditional formatting does, but where the macro is then stored on your computer and can be instantly run and applied to any data. So we're going to create a macro that will allow us to do that. So in the future, once you put this thing together, this macro together, it doesn't matter what new set of data that you're working with, you'll be able to hit one button to start that macro, and it will end up applying formatting just as with the conditional format. So I think that's pretty cool, probably because I'm a geek. So let's take a look at the example that we're going to work with on this one. So this is another set of data. Now think about this one. This has far more columns in it than just the 4. I mean, this thing has a lot more columns going all the way across like this. So it just goes for a while. So just imagine having to put together a formula for this each time you had something like this, where not only do we have the 4 parts of the formula, now you've got additional parts you've got to put in there. So you've got A, B, C, and D. Now you got E, you got F, you got G, you got H, and so forth. I mean, that's a monster. This macro that we're going to be putting together will work on any size worksheet. So if you've got 2 columns or 50 columns or 100 columns, it doesn't matter. It will work perfectly. It's a really cool little tool here. Now, on this last tab here, and this is, again, you know, you're watching these videos. You can download the example file, or the file that I'm using on each of the examples in the videos. You can download that file. Well, this file here that I'm working off of is going to be the exact same one that you're going to be able to download from your screen. So what I'm about to show you is the steps that you're going to go through to create this macro, and once you've created it, you'll never have to do it again. That's what's really cool about this, right? So what you'll do on your own is you'll go over to this macro VBA tab. This is the code that makes the macro happen. All you're going to have to do is you select like that. You right-click it. You hit copy, all right? And then on your keyboard, you're going to hit alternate F11. And when you do that, the Visual Basic window pops open. You will see in there the personal macro workbook, this one right here. What you're going to do is you're going to point right to here, do a right click on it. You're going to tell it that you want to do an insert module, just like that. When you do that, you'll get modules. You'll get this one right here. So right at this point here, you just do a right click on it, you hit paste, there's the macro. That's normally something that if you didn't have something to copy and paste, that, you know, a VBA type programmer would go in there and write all this code to make this happen. But it's a lot of stuff going on there. So, but that's it. That's all you got to do. And then once you've done that, you can just close up the window, just like that, and that's it. And then now, what I can do is I'll go back over here to the VBA sales. Now, when I need to run this macro, and it could be on this worksheet, it could be on anything you do in the future. You click right there, anywhere. You go back into View. You go over to Macros, and you go to View Macros. And what will happen is it'll list out all the macros you've got in there. Now, the one we've got, the one we just did, don't pay attention to this part here. this is the one right here, personal macro workbook here, and that was the name of the macro. See? So all you do is you click onto that, you hit run, and there it is. So you're always going to have that macro available here in the macro view button here. So you're always going to see it in there. If you want to have an easy way to run that, maybe you do this a lot, you can always add the macro to your quick access toolbar here at the top. Real quick, to set that up, you just go at the top here, click up there, go down here to more commands, right? Go over to here and find macros, and this will list out all your macros, and there's the one we're working with. So you point to that one there, you hit add. You can then click onto it and hit modify and change the picture. So if you want, let's say Mr. Happy there, you can do that. And then we just go ahead and hit OK. And now there's the macro. So anytime that you want to run on whatever data you've got, you just click onto that and it'll run the macro for you. So, okay, so hopefully this comes of some help. I know it was kind of a long video here for what it does. But like I said, I've had people over the years in my regular classes where they'll say, hey, you know, I don't want to just get rid of those duplicates right away. I want to see what they are and all that. And this is how you do it. So appreciate you watching the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.